very difficult to prosecute, because the question is, and this is a question that respectfully I want to pose to the bench: will you feel comfortable? Do you appreciate the fact that so far the events that have taken place, whatever determinations that you will arrive in these particular matters, and they are weighty constitutional national matters that affect the entire country, are you satisfied that they will be received well by the public?
The usual case law relating to recusal is inapplicable in the instant case. As a matter of fact, if I say to you very, very respectfully, if there are parties, and indeed there are, who do not want or who do not wish to see you hear this matter, please walk out. You are not the only judges in the country at all.
His lawyers, all of them, never addressed the court. The lawyers were not addressing you. It is the petitioner who was addressing you. You have already made a decision that the petitioner was addressing the gallery. Will he have confidence to appear before him? Ahmed Nasir Sr., when he was constantly spotted by the Supreme Court that he was attacking the courts, the court decided to punish. When he appeared, all the members of the Supreme Court recused themselves. They never gave him audience. Will the deputy president have audience before you when the main substantive motion comes before you?
Well, moving on, Honorable Gideon Moi has been appointed as the chairperson of Commonwealth expert team to observe the upcoming general elections in Botswana, scheduled for Wednesday, October 30 of 2024. In his role, Moi will lead a distinguished group of 5 eminent individuals from various Commonwealth nations, each bringing expertise in politics, elections, media, and civil society. The team is tasked with ensuring a fair and transparent electoral process in Botswana. Well, moving on, police in Siaya County are probing into the tragic death of Wills Ayeko, a top manager at a local security firm, whose mutilated body was discovered in a stream on Wednesday. According to police logs, Ayeko was last seen attending a funeral in Nyaminia village last week. Family members, however, believe he was abducted around 10 p.m. on Friday night, shortly after the funeral, and suspect that his abductors may have attacked him before ultimately disposing of his body at the intersection of Siaya and Kakamega counties.
Who is this? That is our question. Who is this who wanted Willis dead? What a mighty man who can dismember my brother, cut parts as a sign that we have done the job. How much was he paying? Because the type of murder, my brother has gone through a painful, brutal murder that I have never seen. I have lived on this earth. Now what we are doing, we are removing the body of my brother to leave funeral home. The officers had come from Nairobi. Now what they are doing, they are preparing the body to put in a new body bag to take to the Lee Funeral Home. The rest of the things you will hear as time comes. From Nairobi. Now what they are doing, they are preparing the body to put in a new body bag to take to the Lee Funeral Home.
Moving on, the High Court has rejected a request from the state for an additional 2 days for government pathologist Dr. Johansen Odur to submit the post-mortem report regarding a body discovered in the Lake Yahud. The body was initially thought to belong to a GIA member of Parliament, Member of County Assembly Yusuf Ahmed. Justice Alexander Muteti ruled that the state did not provide adequate justification for the extension. He noted that Dr. Odur had already presented DNA reports confirming that the body in question was not that of the missing MCA.
The state, on the other hand, has applied for 2 days to enable them, to enable the government pathologists complete the test. We have not been told what are the difficulties that the chief government pathologist has encountered. The state has had ample time to respond to the application. Thus, the request for 2 days is not reasonable and is hereby rejected.
We are putting the government on notice that if they did not bring the results simply because they want to cook the results, we have already the results from KEMRI that are conclusive that Mheshimiwa is not the body that was there.
Anyone has even an iota of evidence of his wrongdoing, this is where they should bring him. Forceful disappearances have no place in modern day Kenya. And I'm saying this today, that Yusuf is in the hands of the security apparatus, and the abductors are none other than the government security agencies. You know yourselves, there's nothing to fear.
On behalf of the family, I delivered the samples to KEMRI. They have a special lab for human identification, and our results came in by the end of yesterday. The conclusion is that the body we had conducted the autopsy was not the body of Mheshimiwa Yusuf.
Moving on to matters education, the National Assembly's Committee of Education has called on the Ministry of Education to fully implement the competency-based curriculum policy, emphasizing the urgent need for equitable support to ensure that all learners benefit from the education system. During a recent session, committee members expressed concerns that the ongoing rollout of the CBC is leaving many public school students disenfranchised. They highlighted that numerous institutions have yet to receive adequate financial and infrastructural support from the government, which is critical for the successful adoption of the new curriculum.
The resolution to ensure every single primary school in the Republic of Kenya must have junior secondary school is not being implemented by the ministry. It's a concern because this is something we passed as a National Assembly, and anything that is passed by the National Assembly is not just passed in vain. It is passed so that it can be implemented by the respective ministries or state departments. In terms of structures, there are laboratories which are required, are not there in most of our constituencies. In my constituency, we don't have laboratories for junior secondary schools. The teaching aids are not there. It pains me too much to run that we are implementing a curriculum without the required resources.
I come from a constituency where we don't have electricity in 26 public primary institutions that are housing JS classes. Because you remember CBC, of course, there's the issue of ICT under the CBC program. What are you doing as a ministry?
Until we get a policy document from the Minister of Education on what a comprehensive school is, about the JSS, how are we to align that staffing norm? Because it's only then that, you see, like you are talking about the pathways, we have been changing the subjects now and then. TSC has to be properly guided, because when we come up with the staffing norm, it involves money.
A large number of Kenyans have appeared at the KICC Hall in Nairobi to present their opinions on the bill aiming to extend the term of the president from 5 years to 7 years. The purpose of the constitutional amendments bill is to enable all elected leaders to serve 2 terms of 7 years each instead of 5 years. Some Kenyans, or rather the religious leaders and political parties, have already opposed the bill. The bill was presented in the Senate by the Senator of Nandi, Samson Cherargei, being the second of its kind. According to Cherargei, the 7 years will enable leaders to fulfill their promises to Kenyans.
I've said that it will be better if we harmonize this proposal with the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, the NADCO bill, that's already before the House, and I'm very, very sure it's also before the committee, to avoid duplicity of legislation. Then clause 108, Mr. Chair, of the it's with regards to cleaning the leadership of the House, especially between the majority and minority leadership in the Senate. We are in agreement that if you read that section of that Article 108 of the Constitution, indeed there is some bit of ambiguity that the intention of this bill is to clean it up. Clause 6, Mr. Chair, is with regards to it outlines the role of the Senate. The clause proposes amendment of Article 109 of the Constitution that outlines the legislative role of the 2 houses. Our take on this, Mr. Chair, is very clear, that we are in a bicameral type of system, legislative governance. And Article 93 of the Constitution establishes Parliament. When you read it, Article 94 brings out the role of Parliament. Article 95 brings out the role of the Assembly, National Assembly. And Article 96 brings out the role of the Senate. Chair, the proposed amendment cannot originate from the Senate. Article 96(2) of the Constitution provides how Senate participate in lawmaking function of Parliament by exclusively considering bills concerning counties. What am I trying to say, Chair? Our proposal is very clear that in a bicameral type of system, there are very specific roles and how bills originate from the 2 houses. Such a bill cannot originate from the Senate. Such a bill, for it to be a constitutional amendment, cannot originate from the Senate. It can only originate from the National Assembly. When you read Article 96(2), you will come to realize the role of the Senate in terms of legislation. It is exclusively with regards to bills concerning counties. That provision does not concern counties. Clause 11 of the bill provides introduction of office of the Prime Minister. This is also another one that we propose that be harmonized with the NADCO Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, that it's closely similar to the proposals under the NADCO bill to avoid duplication of the legislation process.
Well, moving on, in a significant announcement on the occasion of the United Nations Founding Day, Dr. Korir Sing'oei, Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs, outlined plans for commemorating 60 years of Kenya's active engagement in international diplomacy, a milestone that will be marked during a diplomatic week scheduled from November 27th to December 7th of this year. Speaking to members of diplomatic corps in Nairobi, Dr. Sing'oei reflected on Kenya's diplomatic journey since independence, emphasizing its role in shaping the nation's identity on the global stage. Now, the upcoming celebration will be graced by His Excellency the President as the chief guest and will gather stakeholders from various sectors, including government officials, members of the diplomatic corps, private sector representatives, civil society, and the public.
You know, today is an auspicious day. We mark the UN Founding Day. And I take the early opportunity to wish you a happy UN Founding Day, which we all celebrate. So allow me then to apprise you of the following. Number one, Kenya at 60. This year marks 60 years of Kenya's diplomatic journey. The ministry will commemorate this remarkable journey from 27th of November all the way to the 8th of December 2024. The celebrations will provide a comprehensive overview of Kenya's evolving diplomatic journey, reflect on the country's diplomatic milestones and achievements, experiences and challenges. The celebrations will also be an opportunity to define the path ahead in our international relations. We've worked side by side over the years, and we ask you to be part of these celebrations. A detailed program of the celebratory events will be shared with the diplomatic corps in due course. But some of the activities lined up include the diplomatic golf tournament, ministerial open day, exhibitions, environment day, diaspora engagement, a thematic conference, plus cultural events, the launch of the ministry's art and photographic gallery at Uhuru Gardens Museum, the Eldoret cross-country marathon, amongst others. And towards the end of my presentation.
Well, moving on, Kenya has repatriated 4 nationals of the Republic of Turkey following a formal request from their government. Speaking during our roundtable discussion with civil society, Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Koril Sing'oei, stated that the repatriation took place on October 18th of 2024. Dr. Sing'oei, however, emphasized that the decision was in line with Kenyans' commitment to non-interference in the internal affairs of the states. The PS underscored the importance of relationship between Kenya and Turkey, highlighting the historical and strategic ties that bind the two nations.
The issue of being accused of harboring subversive elements within your country who are undertaking activities detrimental to another country is a very serious thing, and you cannot ignore it. Now, this is a very difficult dilemma for Kenya, and people who think it's easy have to know that it's a very difficult dilemma, because there are 2 principles that we hold dear. But one principle, the principle of non-interference on the internal affairs of another country, is a rock-solid principle that goes to the very founding of states. Okay? And the state in question, namely Turkey, is a big player now in the region, as you know. It is involved in Somalia, it's involved in Ethiopia, it's involved around our neighborhood. And so when you view a matter of this nature from a peace and security lens, you can see the dilemma that sometimes we're confronted with. And so it's not a dilution or a departure from our cardinal principles necessarily. But, and this is where diplomacy, operates within. Diplomacy operates within the range of balancing interests and thinking in terms of what is the bigger good in this context. And sometimes we would rather err on the side of caution, and sometimes, that is consistent with principle. Sometimes we may take a position that appears completely out of tandem with principle. But I can tell you that in this case, it is very, very well considered position. And as a safeguard, the assurance that we can give is that we did seek assurance. The relevant agencies of the state sought assurance in terms of how these individuals will be treated. We received those assurances. Now, assurances in diplomacy is a very important thing. You take state assurance almost to the bank. Okay? And so these are not casual conversations. It is our very sincere hope and belief that these individuals
will be subjected to due process consistent with the laws of the country as well as international principles. But again, I just want to reiterate that this does not dilute our humanitarian ethos and our firm belief that those fleeing persecution, those fleeing conflict.
While moving on, a series of attacks by an unidentified wild animal believed to resemble a hyena has left 3 people injured in Murarandia Ward, Kiharu constituency, Murang'a County. The animal reportedly moved between the villages, attacking individuals in 3 distinct incidents. Eyewitnesses described the chaotic scenes as the creature beat its victims before fleeing. However, a 50-year-old local man managed to confront and kill the animal after it attacked him. The 3 victims are currently receiving medical attention for their injuries.
Tulikuwa ranji pahali tulikuwa tunafanya kazi. Saa hizo za ranji watoto walikuwa wanadanisha kwenda makwao. Tukasikia duru. Tuliposikia duru tukateremka na huko chini. Tukakuta mtoto amekuliwa na mnyama ambaye hatukujua. Saa hizo tukafuatana nayo ikaenda kwa kichaka. Tukaona hatuwezi nishikia. Tukapanda juu ili tushikue barabara ya kumpeleka hospitali. Tulipokuwa tukipeleka hospitali tukakutana na tulipokutana nayo ikanifuata, ikanikibiza. Juu nilikuwa napaga, nikaigeukia, nikaikata mara moja. Ikanirukia kichwa. Baadaye nikaiweza, nikaikatakata, nikaiua.
Tulikuwa nyumbani na wao walikuwa kwa shamba, tukasikia wakipiga duru. Tukateremka. Tukakutana nao wakiwa na damu. Sasa ndio tuliwachukua tukiwapeleka hospitali, tukakutana na huyo mnyama tena. Hiyo mnyama ikauma mzee mmoja tulikuwa na yeye tena akapelekwa hospitali.
While moving on, the Mombasa County government is actively working to improve the business climate in the port city by formulating new legal frameworks aimed at easing operations for local enterprises. Mohammed Osman, the County Executive Committee member for Trade, Tourism and Culture, announced plans to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Kenyan National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, KNCCI, to strengthen collaboration. During a breakfast meeting hosted by KNCCI Mombasa Chapter Chairman Aboud Jamal, Osman highlighted the county's success in increasing its own source revenue from 3.5 billion shillings to 4.4 billion over the past year, attributing its growth to enhanced interactions with business partners.
From last year, you've seen our OSR, own source revenue, moved from 3.5 billion to 4.4 billion. That's a big stride, and that's all because we're able to interact and work with the business partners who are in Mombasa. So, in that accord, as a CC for trade, there are a lot of things we are doing. Putting up a legal framework to come up with the bills which can able to help the business people to conduct their business. There is a bill which is now going to the county assembly. It has passed the public participation. That is market management and street vendors bill. That's the bill that I want to bring order and sanity. You see, we have done our mapping and we have found that we have around 10,000 street vendors in the street. And these are informal traders. And our primary objective is to grow these street vendors from where they are to formal traders, so that there is that linkage between them and financial institutions. They can be recognized. So that bill tried now to avert that one. That you can see traders now doing trade everywhere in Mombasa. For us as a county, once we have that bill, we are able now to have zones. We have a vending zones where we can allow the traders now to put their wares and sell it. That's where we can give them support. There's social minutes to it. There are areas that we call as restricted vending zones. Those are areas that we can allow them to do business, but within a time frame, from these hours to these hours. There's an area where we are going to call it non-vending zones, area that will not go, they not go and do business, like in a CBD. It is an area now it's going to be a restricted non-vending zones where they cannot do business, because we also the other people, other business entities that are carrying out their business, and also we want them to do their business in a very conducive environment.
Basically, we just bringing together the business community to open up, talk, have a candid conversation on what is going on around Mombasa. We're also emphasizing on, embracing partnerships in their business journeys, and also try to get use of innovative ideas to navigate their way around their business endeavors. So that is what we have basically today. The chamber is playing a critical role, especially with partnering with the Mombasa County government in just trying to ensure that we are creating a very conducive atmosphere. But we are telling the business community that we also need to hear them more, just to be able to appreciate where they are coming from, the challenges that they are facing, and how we can overcome them together. That is basically the gist of the conversation that we're having today with the business persons around.
Well, moving on, the construction of the meter gauge railway connecting the Miritini railway station to Mombasa City is expected to be completed within 1 month. This was confirmed by project manager engineer Charles Juma during a site visit by the area member of parliament Badi Twalib earlier today. During the visit, Badi expressed gratitude to President William Ruto for closely monitoring the railway construction, ensuring that affected residents receive their compensation promptly.
Kuja hapa kuangalia progress ya hii commuter train ambayo inaendelea hapa kwangu Jomvu. Na nimekuja hapa as a member of parliament na vile vile as a member of parliamentary transport committee kuja kuangalia na kuevaluate ni namna gani ambavyo mradi huu umeweza kufika. Kwanza nataka kusema kuwa mradi huu utaweza kutusaidia sana sisi watu wa Jomvu na Kenya mzima kwa jumla. Kwa ajili watu sasa wakisafiri through SGR wakija mpaka hapa terminus itakuwa kama vile Nairobi. Sasa watakuwa nakuja na SGR mpaka terminus, alafu wanachukuliwa na hii commuter train ambayo ni MGR kutoka hapa mpaka town. Kwa hivyo ita ease ile shida nyingi za watu walizokuwa wanapata, na pia bei yake itakuwa very friendly. Nikisema hivyo ni kuwa mimi ni mwanakamati wa uchukuzi, najua hiyo, tulizungumza na komiti na MD juu ya hiyo. Pia jambo jingine, mimi nafurahi kusema kuwa nikiwa member of parliament katika hii sehemu nimeiona SGR ikitengenezwa na nimeiona pia MGR hivi sasa ikitengenezwa ya kuuza commuter train. Kwa hivyo leo ni fahari yangu kwa Jomvu. Ilikuwa ni mahali trademark yetu ilikuwa ni traffic jam, barabara zilikuwa na shida. Leo barabara ukiangalia kuna dual carriageway ambayo inatoka Bonje inapita mpaka Bangladesh inakwenda mpaka town. Vile vile kuna ile inapita Pwani Oil. Vile vile kuna ile ambayo iko pale Madafuni inakwenda mpaka Rabai. Vile vile katika hapa tulipo leo watu wengi hawatumii Likoni ferry, sasa wanapitia na hapa Bonje kwangu, wanaanza hapa kwenda zao mpaka katika sehemu za Kwale. Kwa hivyo hiyo ease traffic ya watu wangu ambao walikuwa kupata shida sana. Na kwa ujio wa hii train sasa ndio itakuwa ni kabisa kwa Jomvu itakuwa hatuna shida za mambo ya usafiri, kwa sababu kuna barabara na vile vile kutakuwa na hii train. Lakini nataka niseme kitu kimoja. Wakati wa nyuma tulikuwa safari mimi na mheshimiwa Governor Alias Joe kule Japan, Tokyo. Wakati ule tulikuwa tuna shida na hii SGR. Na tulipofika kule, moja ya findings zetu tulikuja nazo hapa Kenya ilikuwa ni maneno to do with integrated transport system, ambayo ni ya barabara, ya rail, na vile vile tunaweza hata watu wa Jomvu kutumia maji. Kwa hivyo tuna barabara nzuri, tutakuwa na reli yetu, na hata maji tunaweza kuwa nayo. Na nitafanya bidii kusail back hii idea kwa Governor Joe ambaye ni waziri wetu wa blue economy, kuona kuwa tukiwa na Panton pale Jomvu inaweza kutoka Jomvu ikenda Jomvu Mission, ikenda Mikindani, ikenda Kibarani, ikenda Chuda na ikenda English Point. Na ukaona kuwa katika hizi sehemu zote imeweza kusavu wale ambao hawataka kutumia barabara, wale ambao hawataka kutumia reli waweze kutumia maji. Na hili ni jambo ambalo linawezekana.
With that particular report wraps up our bulletin this hour. Remember, today the High Court is set to have a sitting in matters regarding the impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. We'll be bringing you that particular report, live coverage, as soon as it unfolds. And my name is Martin Masharia, and as always, let's meet again when God says we do.